In this video, I'm building a huge LEGO Mario Party board, including traps, mini-games, and a boss battle. The idea is to build a 3D immersive board game, making use of the interactable barcodes and 3 digital Mario figures. Most people don't like the interactive LEGO Mario figures, but I have to admit, I do. I'm sorry, they're just so unique, and I haven't seen any other toy like them. However, I think LEGO could have taken the theme a step further than mindlessly beating up Bowser Jr. for coins, and made it a playable game, which is exactly what I'm doing now. Step 1 is to plan the layout of the spaces. I'm glad to finally use my oversized collection of Mario plates because I was starting to run out of room. Now it's time to build the base of the board. I want it to be fairly large, so we're going to need 6 base plates for the bottom. The terrain will require mostly stacked tan 2x4s. And since this is my first Mario Party board, it'll mimic the look of the Mushroom Kingdom. The plan is to have multiple layers of cliff faces almost like a cake, but before we continue the groundwork, I thought it would be cool to include a simple mechanism to show what turn the players are on. To do this, I use these number bricks from the 2016 calendar set. Players can slide this pointer up 1 number each round so they don't lose track. Moving back to the main structure, I can start laying down green plates, which will require a lot of support underneath. I honestly wish I had added more though, because they were starting to bend a little, which made it hard to place down other elements. But there's one problem. I ran out of green plates. Nothing Pick-a-Brick can't fix. It'll just really delay the release of this video. While I wait for the plates to arrive, I'll start on the second layer and use whatever small green plates I have left. Now a week after ordering plates, they finally arrived and I can finish the board without any setbacks. Or so I thought. This Boo Trap is the first play feature included on the board and was supposed to use a simple pressure plate mechanism meant to rotate the Boo around the tree, but I ended up taking 5 hours to figure it out and I'm still not the most satisfied with it. The third cliff face is a little more exciting. Housing this cool cloud seesaw mechanism, players will use to access the final ground level. And with the ground layers finished, we can now add a lot more detail and color to the board. On the right side, I'll start by including Nabbit's tile. If a player's path happens to go past this space, they'll be given the opportunity to pay 5 coins to steal a random item from another player, determined by their on-screen animation. If a mushroom is displayed, Nabbit will steal another player's dash mushroom, but if no one has one, it's just tough luck and you get nothing. Next, I'll add a warp pipe that players will use to fast travel to the opposite side of the board. And finally, a mushroom to access the next level. At the top, I decided to add a castle with a boss battle. The design is based on the new Super Mario Bros. Middle castle, and I experimented with a few different ways to make this round structure. The bottom uses alternating hinge plates to create this brick pattern, and the top uses a technique I borrowed from the Tiny Plants set. All of these parts work together to make this beautiful Kooplin castle. Bye-bye! Beside the castle, I'll also add some enemies to block the path, and Kamek as decoration. For the last section of the board, I'll include new interactable spaces, including Lektu. He will serve his usual function found in most Mario Party games, stealing stars and coins from rival players. Next is the item shop, where players can buy powerful items such as the poison mushroom, which will take away 2 spaces of movement when used on another player, a golden dice block that will let you move any number of spaces between 1 and 6, and finally a POW block, which does this. Next comes Baby Yoshi and a fruit bush. Before unlocking Baby Yoshi, players must land on the fruit bush tile to get the fruit and later pass by the Yoshi tile. Once this is achieved, you will gain Yoshi as an item, which can be used to defeat any enemies in your path. Finally, I'll place a couple of question mark blocks, which are used to gain a random item determined by your interactable character. To finish, I'll add those last bits of detail, like plants, mushrooms, and hills. Seriously, how are these hills? And with the LEGO Mario Party board officially completed, it's finally time to give it a playtest. If you don't know how Mario Party works, players will traverse the game board, defeating enemies and playing minigames to collect coins, which are later used to buy stars. The player with the most stars wins. The game starts like any other, with the 3 of us rolling the dice block to determine who goes first. Once that is decided, the first player begins the first round by rolling the dice again to see how far they'll go on the map. While my brother landed on a green space, earning him nothing, my sister rolled a 5, landing on a blue space, gaining her a coin. I went last and happened to land on the same spot as my brother, and we didn't really fit, because yes, these figures are kinda fat. And with round 1 complete, it is time to play our first mini game randomly determined by a dice roll. Rolling a 2, the chosen minigame was one I like to call hit the shell as far as you can without killing Jimmy. Yeah, I couldn't think of anything else. The rules are literally in the name. The closest person to Jimmy the Goomba without touching him wins the game. Each player gets 1 turn to launch the shell, and their distance is marked by these small cactuses. Of course, I ended up winning with both of my competitors absolutely murdering poor Jimmy. In round 2, we got our first battle of the game. In the case of this Goomba, only a number greater than 1 can defeat it. With a 6 rolled, the Goomba was completely massacred and removed from the board, earning my brother a coin and letting him pass. After round 2, it's time for our second minigame, which is called Bob-omb Blunder. In this game, you simply hit the bomb as much as you can before it explodes. The person with the most coins after it explodes wins. However, one of the figures seemed to be kinda glitched, randomly gaining one of us an insane amount of coins. Fast forwarding a few rounds, my brother ended up making his way to the top, while my sister and I still wasted time on the first level. And after a while, he finally made it to the main goal, the boss battle. All he needs to do is roll at least a 5 to hit Larry once, gaining him a star, and if a 6 is rolled, you can decide to roll again, which is exactly what my brother did. However, he wasn't as lucky the second time, lost 5 coins, and got sent back to the start. And now it's time for our third and final minigame, Penguin Hide and Seek. I spent the most time preparing this one out of the 3 games because it needed to be quite large. The structure is an ice castle with 6 different hiding spots that our randomly selected player will use to hide these 3 baby penguins. The 2 other players then get 2 chances each to guess where one of the penguins is hidden. If the seekers find all 3 penguins, they win. And after the 15th round, even though I won most of the minigames and racked up around 30 coins, in the end, it was my brother who secured the win because of that one little star he got from the boss battle. But that's just Mario Party for you. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, subscribe and leave a like. Also, don't forget to check out our YouTube memberships if you're interested. Until next time.
See you later.